I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 541. Stay tuned. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Hi, all my dear friends all over the world. Today, I want to share Linda Bjork with you. Linda is the host of Linda's Corner, and she shares healing, happiness, and hope to the world. Who wouldn't want to hear that podcast? Well, you're going to hear my interview with Linda, and I know you will get some inspiration out of it, either from me or from her, especially if you're looking to lose weight in menopause, or you're just looking to have more self-compassion for yourself, or to trust yourself more. So whatever you do when you're listening to this podcast, take a walk, take a drive, or if you're anything like me, take a bubble bath and enjoy this podcast with Linda on Linda's Corner. I know we talk about weight loss, and I am known for that in a way, but I use the platform really to help women who are going through menopause, who have been struggling with weight their whole life, to figure it out. And if you are fortunate enough to have too much weight on your body at this time, and you've been struggling with this issue for many, many years, it is the perfect time. What we're going to work on getting right is not what you're putting in your mouth, but why you're putting it in your mouth.
Welcome to Linda's Corner, where we bring more hope, healing, and happiness to the world. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about wellness and weight loss. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Deb Butler. Dr. Deb is a certified master weight loss and life coach, board-certified chiropractor, nutritionist, acupuncturist, and the host of the inspiring podcast, Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. You can reach Dr. Deb at her website, drdebbutler.com. where she offers a free guide to jumpstart your weight loss, and I'll include that link in the show notes. Welcome, Dr. Deb. I'm so glad that you could join with me today.
Oh, I am so happy to be here because I want to help people and hope that we can inspire who is ever listening today, that they're going to hear exactly what they tuned in to hear.
Oh, wouldn't that be perfect to be able
Yes.
to get that message that's like, oh my gosh, that was just for me.
That's what I'm thinking is going on right now as we speak, that everybody that's tuned into this is already thinking that.
Absolutely. And Dr. Deb, I love the name of your podcast. That is so amazing. Thinner Peace. And it gives that implication that our emotional weight that we carry and that physical weight that we carry are related.
Oh my gosh, you couldn't have said it better in any other way. It is totally related. And you can lose weight and be miserable. You can be overweight and be miserable. You can be overweight and be totally happy. And you can be thin and be totally happy. But the whole thing is that how you feel is not going to be because of your weight. It's
Ooh.
going to be because, to me, it's like, um, I know we talk about weight loss, and that is certainly, I am known for that in a way. But I use the platform really to help women who are going through menopause, who have been struggling with weight their whole life, to figure it out. And I'm telling you, the figuring out is not what to eat or how to eat it. It really is more of a matter of the simple concept of, do you know when you're hungry and do you know when you're full? And it sounds way too simple. I know it sounds way too simple, but it changed my life when I became a life coach. And the simple question is why are you eating when you're not hungry? So instead of what should you eat, or I was a lifetime Weight Watcher member. So to me, it was a point system. And when I went to Weight Watchers as a lifetime member, which I only went to when I needed to lose the weight that I gained when I left Weight Watchers, which is what I did for, I don't know, 30 years. I think I ended up losing 250 pounds altogether off and on over all of those years. And when menopause hit and the same tricks of Weight Watchers didn't work anymore, and I was kind of dissatisfied with being a chiropractor after 30 years. It was like there was a lot of things that were hitting me all at one time. This little transition called menopause is, I think, extremely intentional by the powers that be. And I think that as a woman, anybody that's listening to this that is around that age, I want you to listen up to what we talked to today, because you are in a stage of your life that can transform you in a way that you will never, ever be able to do it again, ever. This is the time. And if you're unhappy or miserable about anything, this is the time to change it.
Wow. Okay. So menopause is a time of transition, obviously, physically,
It is.
but you're saying this is our time to transform anything and everything.
Yes, ma'am. That is exactly what I'm saying. And if you are fortunate enough to have too much weight on your body at this time and you've been struggling with this issue for many, many years, it is the perfect time to get it right. And what we're going to work on getting right is not what you're putting in your mouth, but why you're putting it in your mouth. And when you're going through menopause, to me at least, I think menopause is a time of increased negative emotion, is the way I would kind of term it. And I'm not saying it's like that for everybody. So please understand, if you're feeling wonderful and great, wonderful. But for those of you who are not, which is more of the case of this transition, there's a reason for it. But if you've been struggling with weight and using food as a way of not feeling your emotions, when you get into menopause, you're going to want to eat more, because you're going to want to feel less, because those feelings are going to get stronger because they're trying to talk to you.
And I think that's really where we need to get to when we
Okay.
dig down through. And I love a lot of times people think, okay, menopause basically means game over. That's what it means. If you haven't lost the weight
That's
by
right.
now, you're not going to. In fact,
That's right.
just start buying some larger size clothes because you're going to be getting bigger and bigger. And the words that you're saying and the message that you're giving are so hopeful that I think some people are probably going to even think, no, no, that's not real. That's not real. So
Mhm.
do you want to share your story so that some people can say, yeah, she really does know what she's talking about?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, because I was a chiropractor, I certainly had knowledge of nutrition and how to take care of a body, and informed my patients all the time how to do it. But that did not stop me from using food in a non nutritional way for the whole time. And I didn't think that I had a problem, because I could always lose the weight when I wanted to. So I just figure a weight loss problem is when you can't lose weight. I mean, this is just my little brain in my 30s thinking like this, educated, but, um, I like to eat and I like to be thin. And it was like, as long as I could figure out a way to lose weight in the Weight Watcher system, meaning how many points could I get? How much could I get? How much could I eat? And my goal was to eat as much as I could and gain and lose weight. So it was like, well, there are a lot of foods, and I'm not trying to educate people on Weight Watchers, and I'm also not trying to tell people not to do Weight Watchers. I'm just saying the way I used it was not a great way for me to be connected to my body. So
when I hit menopause, and this was the system that I was using, and I had a lot more emotions going on and a lot more dissatisfaction going on in my own career. It was kind of like my whole life was changing because when we get in our 50s, if we have children, they're probably leaving. And I'm making these assumptions. I know this is not the way it is for everybody, but overall, if we read the research in the books, this is what we're going to see. It's time for the kids to start leaving, and it's time for you to start buckling down and get with the program. And it's the least thing that you want to do, I think, because really it's like all of a sudden you have this open space. You're not taking care of all these people anymore, and you're not taking care of everything on the outside as much. So all of a sudden, with all this emotional space opened up, what are you going to do with it? And the first question usually is who am I and what do I want to do? I've been doing all this stuff, but what do I actually want to do now? And I think that when we're younger, we think that by the time we hit 50, we'll know it all and we'll be done and it won't matter. But really, now that I'm 15 years older than that, I can tell you that you're only going to get older. And if you don't get your head together when you're 50, mind body connection, it's not going to get easier. But if you get it together in your 50s, aging in a way that makes you excited is an option for you because you start to figure out who you are and what you want. And it may not be anything of what you've been doing. So for me, I was a mom and a wife, and I was running a business, and I didn't want to run that business anymore. And I didn't have a kid to take care of anymore. I still had a husband that I loved, but I don't know what I wanted to do with him either. I mean, it was just it's just that kind of time. And I feel like it's similar to adolescence. When you first start going out into the world, big hormonal changes are going on in our bodies. And the question is who am I and what do I want to do in adolescence? It really, and we make these big decisions when we're really young. And we go with those decisions all the way, usually till we hit around 50. And then it's like, is this what I want to still do? And is this are these my dreams? And what's going on? And so the whole thing is I'm telling my story in a roundabout way, but I really enjoyed being a chiropractor. I was working with my husband and I was running the business and I loved taking care of patients, but I didn't really want to do it anymore. It's a really odd feeling when you should want to do it, but you feel deep down in your own body saying, I don't want to do it anymore. So I could have gone with the shoulds because it was like guilt ridden. Like, how could I not want to do this? And what will my husband do if I'm not doing this? And, I was so worried about everything and everybody else. But what was going on inside of me was, you don't want to do this anymore. You don't want to do this anymore. And the more I was thinking that, the more I wanted to eat and drink.
Mm.
And so when I went back to Weight Watchers to lose the same weight that I've always wanted to lose, it was very, very difficult. Very, very difficult to lose any weight because it was very difficult for me to even want to stay within the point system. So I just thought there was something wrong with Weight Watchers. It doesn't work anymore. But really what was going on is I didn't have a system for dealing with strong emotions. Discomfort, dis-ease, all the things that were going on at this point. And I started looking into life coaching because what I realized in my own chiropractic business, that what I love most about working with patients was talking to them and trying to help them figure out how to do what I was telling them to do. Because the hardest thing was I could tell them what to do. I gave them all the right information, but why didn't they do it? Right. And so it was like, and the same thing with me. I had the information too. Why couldn't I lose the weight? And what was going on? Well, as long as I was eating and drinking, I didn't have to think about any of that, and I didn't have to feel my dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started looking into life coaching, one of the very first life coaches that I met was what she called herself a weight coach. I never heard of that before, a weight loss coach. And I thought, what are they going to do? Like I was just figuring, God, I can't wait for her to tell me what to eat and how to get this off fast. But the only question that she asked was, why do you eat when you're not hungry? And I go like, what? What does that got to do with anything? I mean, this is my little brain going like, tell me what to eat, tell me how to eat, tell me how to get this weight off, tell me why it's so
Right.
hard. Right. And that's of course everybody that comes to me now, that's basically what they want. I just want to get it off fast and tell me the secret. And so when she started asking, why do you eat when you're not hungry? And do you know when you're hungry? And do you know when you're full? I realized I did not know the answers to either because I never asked myself the question. Now, I'm a smart girl. I know my stuff. I had not much of a connection to my body when it came to something like that. I was more concerned with when it came to eating is how much could I get without losing weight? Without gaining weight. How much could I eat? And, so if I was using the point system, I just get all those points together towards the end of the day so I could eat and drink as much as I want and stay within the point system and get really, really full, which to me felt safe and secure. I never wanted to be hungry because when you're used to dieting all the time, being hungry is scary and being full. And so here's somebody saying, well, do you know when you're hungry and do you know when you're full? And when I started really looking into it, it's like, oh my gosh, I am hungry. I need to eat. If I was on Weight Watchers, I would go, I don't need to eat. I'm going to wait because I don't want to use those points now. No listening to my body. But when I started going, okay, well, I think it's time to eat because she came up with this number system, which is what I use to this day, which is like a graph in your head. A -10 is starving and a +10 is stuffed. So her idea was, which is what I use now, is we learn to eat between the twos. Start at a -2 and stop at a +2, knowing you could wait to a -10 to eat. You could be starving, but a -2 is more like a whisper of hunger, and a +2 compared to a +10 is a whisper of fullness. So you don't wait until you're really hungry to eat, and you don't wait until you're really full to stop. And you start paying attention to what those numbers are in your own body, which is what I was learning to do. What are my numbers? Because the way that we're wired as children is we don't ask ourselves, am I a -3 or a -4? We just know when our body says, hey, everything's hitting, it's time to eat. And everything happens in your body from a hormonal standpoint when it's time to stop. And you eat and you stop, and you eat and you stop. And nobody has to tell you anything, you know. And the only reason I didn't know anymore, and many people don't know, is because they've started paying attention to external diets and different ways of playing around with your own body, which is not respecting it. But if weight loss is the key, being thin is the key as opposed to being connected, you're going to hit menopause, and it could be a lovely gift if that's the way you've been running your show. Because now could be a time when you're listening to me is to go, okay, there's no better time right now than for me to learn what my body is talking about from a physical standpoint. And the biggest way that your body speaks to you on an everyday, regular basis is hunger and fullness. There's nothing more stronger that happens all the time than that. So if you want to be more connected to your body, you start with your own hunger and fullness.
Wow. That is so simple and yet so revolutionary. Totally different from anything that is out there. The idea of being connected versus the goal of being thin. So,
Right.
is this beyond maintenance, but actually can help you release weight as well? Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Yes. I mean, I think I'm not going to say 100% across the board, but I would say for most people, if they start doing this and they have more weight on their body than they want, and it's too much for their body, the body thinks it's too much. You start really paying attention to these numbers and your body will start dropping the weight. If the body thinks it's too much. Now, I am not going to say this is across the board. I am just saying that for a lot of people, if they're anything like I was who have never done this before, it is an awakening. Because once you're really connected, like you really know when you need to be eating and you really know when you need to stop, then you have to start questioning, why are you waiting so long? Or why are you eating so much? Once you know what your numbers are, once you realize that, hey, your body is saying stop, why do you want to keep eating? And you really learn your body is saying stop. So you understand your own physical hunger scale so you can really start looking at your own emotional hunger scale. Because if you're eating beyond your twos, then you're feeding what I call emotional holes. They're not physical hunger holes like the -2 to a +2 or a -5. Those are all physical hunger holes that are filled by food in your belly. You need that. But emotional holes are things that are felt in the body, they're emotions, but they're not helped by feeding them with food. But you can confuse very easily in your own head emotional hunger with physical hunger. So, how many people that I talk to in menopause that say to me, ever since I hit menopause, I'm hungry all the time. But what we find out as we start working this is that they're emotionally hungry more than they ever used to be, not physically hungry.
And how do you determine the difference? I mean, if it feels the same.
Well, once you understand your physical hunger scale, so you know, for instance, you just ate and you know you're at a +2, like, I'm done. And you want to keep eating. You're into the emotional realm that I want to keep eating, or a thought as simple as this is delicious. A simple thought like that, when you're at a +2, will create what we call an emotional urge, emotional hunger. It will create an emotional hole that you think needs to be filled with food. Because if you've been saying it, anytime you say it's delicious, you've taught your brain, if you're anything like I was, you've
Okay.
taught your brain that that means I should keep eating.
Mm, okay.
But it's emotional hunger because you now know that your physical hunger is sated. You know you're at a +2. So even if it's delicious, you still don't eat more just because it's delicious. So the difference in thinking, one way of thinking is it's delicious, therefore I would keep eating. Who wouldn't? What nut wouldn't eat if it was if it's so delicious? Delicious means eat.
Or we could say, wow, that was delicious. And I feel satisfied. What a wonderful meal
There
that
you
was. I enjoyed it so much.
Right. And I'm full.
And I'm full. I'm
And
satisfied.
I'm full. That very, very important is I am full. You can say I'm physically full, but that emotional tug, depending on who you are and how long you've been honoring that thought, is a difficult thought when it starts creating this emotional hunger because it does feel physical. That's how it gets confused. But once you can distinguish between the two numbers, between emotion and physical, once you can distinguish that, and if you're listening to me right now, you can do this. You'll be able to do this just by listening to me. And I have this jumpstart guide that you talked about that is free that you just get by going to Peace with Deb. And in this, I teach you how to use these numbers so that within 4 or 5 days, you'll be getting your numbers.
You'll
That's
start understanding
fantastic.
your numbers. You might not like them.
Why wouldn't we like our numbers? Is it because we have to stop before we think we want to?
There you go.
Okay.
Because you've never dealt with the whole idea that you're not feeling physical hunger. Now, I think like as I'm talking about this, there's probably a lot of people listening to know that they eat beyond their own fullness. So for you to be able to objectively look at what you're doing objectively, because the first thing that happens is that in your brain, we have like a toddler in our brain that will throw a tantrum. That's part of emotional hunger. What do you mean I can't have any more? And it's kind of like, how do you manage your mind when it tells you things that aren't true? For instance, when something is delicious, I keep eating. Now, if this were, I used to do early childhood education.
Oh,
And with little kids, and I would teach parents how to handle their little kids when they didn't want to get up in the morning, or when they went to the grocery store and they saw something they wanted and the parent didn't want them to have it. And so the kid would throw like a tantrum, believing that it would help them get whatever it
get
is
what
that
they
they
want.
want. Now, in early childhood, what is taught is that if you give in to that, you're going to have a very bratty kid, and you're going to have a kid that's going to learn how to throw tantrums to get what they want. As a parent, you teach a child that throwing tantrums does not get what you want. You can still love them, you can help them calm down, but you don't give them something that isn't going to be good for them. You don't do it. And you don't do it out of love, right? Because you love them. It's not because you want to be mean to them or self sabotage them. You do it because you love them and you want the best for them. Well, our brains have like a toddler in them too that scream and yell for things that it wants because maybe it's been given it so many times. Think about early childhood. If it's been repeated, the tantrum, and they're used to getting it, they expect it. So there's two parts of our mind. We have a prefrontal cortex that's smart and brilliant, and then we have our primal reptilian part of our brain, and that's the toddler part. Now, when it starts telling you, it's so delicious, you have a smarter part of your brain that can love that part and still say no, but not do it out of meanness, but do it out of love. Teaching that toddler or that part of your brain that food is not the answer to what you're desiring. It is not the answer.
Right. There's something else. I love this. This is fantastic. And it almost everything, any kind of addiction, and food can be an addiction, even if we
Absolutely.
don't realize that it is. W-
Absolutely.
Mostly the problem is not the thing we're addicted to. So here the problem is not the food.
That's
It
right.
is that trying to numb or to distract or to fill that emotional hole. And so this is a beautiful, logical, and yet not heard very much. It's not what's the fad diets. It's not promoted. That's amazing.
It is not. And I will say, once you start getting these connections, like the hunger and fullness is not the only connection we're talking about, right? I mean,
Mhm.
when you're in pain, when you're tired, all of these, your body can whisper at you or your body can scream at you. Just like being starving is screaming, being stuffed is screaming. If we only know how to attend to our bodies when it's screaming, I got to tell you, getting over 50 and going into your 60s and 70s is not going to be fun unless you learn how to attend to your whispers.
the whispers of pain. Do you need a plus 10 in order to do something about your pain? Or can you do something when it's whispering at you, when it's much easier to take care of it, but it's just whispering? Right. I was thinking, like, as a chiropractor, and I did maintenance care and chiropractic. And what I trained my patients to do is don't come in when your body is screaming, come in when your body is whispering. We called it maintenance care.
Mm.
Come in at low levels because it's so much easier for me to adjust you. And it's so much easier for you just to feel better. But it's not a screaming, yelling thing. So you have to get used to taking care of yourself before the screaming begins. Now, maybe up until 40 or 50, you can get away with screaming, right? Like, I don't know, when I was in my 20s, I can't even tell you the things that I did to my body that it was screaming at, that I just said, who cares, you know? And I lived and I lived and I'm here, right? But you can't keep doing that. And you get many warning signs from your body in your 50s alerting you to it's not going to work anymore. Not just weight loss. There's a lot of things that are basically your body saying that's not going to work anymore. You need to find a better way. And the better way is how to really connect mind, body, and spirit. I think a lot of us live up in our minds all the time, and we're running with our minds and we're not paying attention to the connection. And our bodies and minds work together. I
Absolutely.
mean, they're not separate.
No. Wow. How simple and yet how revolutionary. Listen
Oh,
to your body when it's whispering. And if we're used to listening only when it screams, only when we're so sick that we can't get up, or we're so full, or we're so hungry, or we're so whatever, that's when we listen.
and we're going to end up in trouble. Now, maybe before
Right.
50, we won't. You know,
Right.
I've counseled and coached so many women who, you know, if I'm coaching them and they'll tell me, you know, I'm really pretty sick today. I go like, well, how sick are you on the hunger scale? So -10 is you're really sick and 0 is not very much. And they'll come up with this number like a -6 or a -7. I go, and you're at work? Oh yeah. I go, why aren't you home taking care of yourself? "Oh, because I can still function." And I go, what would it take for you to stay home? And a lot of them basically say an ambulance or an emergency room. That would get their attention. That's the screaming, "Oh, I can't go to work. I'm in the emergency room." Right?
Yep.
Therefore, I can't go. But if I'm at home and I can still move, I should be able to work. It's this uncanny way of thinking that we don't realize. I don't know where it comes from. I know a lot of people have it. The syndrome of, you know, the screaming of the body as opposed to the whispering of the body. And I understood it really well with chiropractic because all my patients, whoever came in the beginning, came in with screaming pain. That's what got them in. I mean, they didn't come in because, you know, I have a little pain in my back, but I don't want it to get worse. Never. That is not what ever happened. When they came in, they were crawling in and they were crying and they were upset. And it was like, I'll do anything. Right. But as soon as they're feeling better, well, you know, I go, we talk about maintenance care. Well, you know, I'm feeling pretty good. But I mean, it's just a teaching and it's a way of thinking, and you have to change the way that you're thinking about your body and about what you're putting into it. So once you understand your physical hunger scale, I'm not going to say you shouldn't care what you put into it.
Right.
Right. But I'll tell you what's more important in the beginning. It's if you can eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, matters much more in the beginning than what it is you're putting in it. And I bet there are people who would like to fight with me on that. But if you don't know your own hunger and fullness, and so many people relax when I say you don't change anything you're eating, just know your numbers. And of course, I know that certain foods are going to create different things in terms of the physical hunger scale, but getting in touch with what all that is about is so mind blowing for most people.
Like, I don't really care what you're eating. I really care why you're eating. And do you know your own connections? And if you don't know by the time you're 50, getting older is not going to be fun because the only way you can get older and thrive, I think, is you got to listen to your body. It tells you what to do. It tells you how, it tells you so many things, but not when it's screaming at you.
Wow. That's that's so logical. It's so obvious. As you speak, it's yes, of course. I always knew that. But why didn't I think of it?
Right. Me too. It's a very interesting thing about trust and it's about how you learn to trust yourself, right? And how it seems easier to trust an outside source as opposed to what's inside, which is can't be more trustworthy than that.
Right. And yet it doesn't feel that way because we're not used to listening.
We're used to looking outside. That's why the weight loss thing I think is so interesting is
Mhm.
because a diet is such an external source.
Absolutely.
And, like I learned when I was very young, like at 13 or 14 years old, that I needed an external source because there was something wrong with my body. There was nothing wrong with my body when I was that age. I just thought it was. I already started thinking things that I was too heavy and this and that. I was 13 years old and my body was probably putting on weight like most 13-year-olds do as you start growing and all the things that you do. But I was raised in a family that's not okay. And things were said to me.
Mm.
And it didn't stop for a long time. And I just know after coaching so many women that there are more people like me than you can imagine, unfortunately.
Yeah. There's just that, I don't know, common knee jerk. This is the way we respond
Yeah.
to the voices that come from the inside. It's hard to get that trust and that confidence in ourselves that I am okay being me, even if you say something that is unkind to me.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
A lot of this is hard because we haven't been taught. We've been taught something else. That's all. It's, talking about the brain and who's in charge.
Right.
Right. And really being able to manage your own mind about anything, about what you're thinking and what it's creating for you. I use food and weight as a way of getting into anybody's head about what they're really thinking. We start with it's delicious. We'll start there. Like that's in your head. That causes problems. But there's a lot of things going on in there that many people are just not even aware it's running.
Right.
Right? But you can change it and you can manage it if you can see it. That's what I do. I help people see what they can't see. I help people change their perception. And according to Marianne Williamson in the Course in Miracles, a change in perception is a miracle.
Oh, that's beautiful. And isn't it interesting when you talked about our prefrontal cortex and our
Yep.
lizard brain
Yep.
and how we don't even realize we're not in the driver's seat.
There you go.
We're just kind of a passenger in our life. We just along for the ride, and then we're surprised that it doesn't turn out the way that we hoped.
Right. And then you hit 50 and you hit this stuff that's going on hormonally in your body. The brain becomes more malleable. It's kind of like adolescence. That's what I was alluding to. It's the same kind of thing in the body. Hormone changes are different, but there's still hormone changes. But your brain is probably just as malleable at this age as it was in your 20s. And I think it's fascinating. Like, wow, we were created in a very interesting way. Why is this time so interesting? Really, it's because it's like I think what we're meant to do in the first half of our life isn't the same thing in the second half. I think they're different.
Right. Isn't that nice to get a chance to kind of rework, as you said, we're talking about at this stage of life, who am I? And we get to decide.
We get to decide again.
Hmm.
We get to decide with about 30 more years of wisdom. When we decide in our 20s, I don't know how much, you don't have that much wisdom. I mean, I thought I was pretty wise, but looking back, not so much.
Right.
But
A 50-year-old's wisdom and a 20-year-old's wisdom is very, very different. So where you take your life
You
at
would
20,
certainly hope so.
you would hope so.
Yeah,
But you know what? Some people don't even know because they don't question it.
right,
They feel all this stuff going on in their bodies like I did, but they're not questioning that this may not be right anymore.
right. Yeah, just the process of adding another year to your age does not necessarily mean that we are wiser, that we know more. It requires that questioning, like you talked about.
I think it really requires managing your mind, really understanding what the heck is going on in your mind.
Somebody's got to be in the driver's seat.
Somebody's got
Your
to be.
life probably should be you.
Could you say it any better? That's perfect. You could end it like that too, because that's a good one right there.
Deb, this has been amazing. Is there anything else you want to make sure that we cover before we close today?
Oh my gosh. The only thing I would say above and beyond, other than get the Jumpstart Guide by going to Peace with Deb, we didn't talk a lot about self-compassion, but it's a big part of what I teach because one of the things I think we learn at a very young age is how to be really hard on ourselves, as if that's the way we're going to get what we want in life. Even though the compassion that we use on other people is not like that. We're not hard on other people. We're compassionate. Most of us are compassionate with other people and very hard on ourselves.
Mhm.
And really, I think learning the compassion that you have for other people when they're suffering is the compassion that you need to show for yourself, which is called self-compassion. And we could talk hours on it, but for now,
Absolutely.
if you don't know how to be nice to yourself, this is a really good time to start.
Fantastic. Deb, thank you so much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate this.
It was a pleasure, and I hope we got the message across.
Yes. In closing, I'd like to share a quote by Karen Lamb. She said, "A year from now, you may wish you had started today." Today, I invite our listeners to start today so you can thank yourselves later. See you next time on Linda's Corner. Thanks for tuning in to Linda's Corner podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends to help us inspire even more listeners. Be sure to visit hopeforhealingfoundation.org for free and affordable resources to help you overcome life's challenges. And explore healingbreathworkdetox.com, where you'll find transformative tools for deep inner healing and lasting change. Also, don't forget to check out my books, Crushed, A Journey Through Depression, and You Got This, an action plan to calm fear, anxiety, worry, and stress. Your journey to hope, healing, and happiness starts here.
If you've been following my podcast and you're loving all the tools that I teach you, but you're just not sure that you can do it or apply it by yourself, then please go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. And you can find out if the program that I do and the coaching that I do will help you get to where you want to be, to learn all the tools that I teach and be able to make it a part of your life. Just go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. You can set up a free 30-minute mini session.